Excuse me. Our next item on our staff reports is regarding water reduction efforts and some possible additional water resources to explore planning. Do you have any introductory remarks, Dr. Escamilla?
Yes, Madam Chair. I appreciate that opportunity to open up a hopefully which will be a broader discussion on the water issues that we are facing in this region of the state. Certainly here focused here in Corpus Christi. Del Mar College is an inextricable partner and member of this community, and as such, the team and I, in accordance with conversations from the Board of Regents, are putting together and compiling opportunities that have been long in existence and newer opportunities to both preserve, conserve, and water in the short term and in the long term, because both of those will be critical. I'm going to defer to Vice President McDonald to crack open this conversation, if you will, and hopefully we can. Well, not hopefully, but you can expect that we'll be coming back with smaller bites of the projects as they unroll. Thank you.
The microphone's not on.
Is the green light on, Tammy?
The green light's on.
There you go. You just got to.
Okay.
There you go.
Sorry.
That works better.
As the City of Corpus Christi considers implementing a level 1 water drought, it's important to review water reduction efforts that we have in place, efforts that are in progress, additional options for water reduction, other resources to explore, and next steps in planning and preparedness. In June of 2022, we went to stage 1 water restrictions. Stage 2 began in March of 24, and stage 3 restrictions began in December of 24. Last week, actually on March the 30th, Del Mar College representatives met with representatives from the City of Corpus Christi Office of Emergency Management, Water and Communications Departments to discuss current conditions, resource needs, planning, and preparedness in the event of a level 1 water drought. I want to thank, I have some people that helped with this. Of course, we have a lot of the facility staff, but we have, in a little bit, I'll call up John Strybos. He is still helping us part-time in advisory capacity. So I'll have him come up in a little bit, and then Jackie Landrum will come up in a little while and talk about some tax valuation information as part of the presentation. But I wanted to take them and the facilities team for helping with this project. So college-wide, we initiated low-flow fixtures. They were installed in most restrooms, automatic faucets installed in most restrooms, HVAC use carefully monitored so that we can optimize our chilled water use. Any leaks in systems, water irrigation, or chilled water identified and repaired as soon as possible. Exterior power washing was restricted to only if it's a health or safety issue, so we're not doing any external washing unless it falls under that. And then our landscaping and irrigation were in compliance with city requirements, no irrigation allowed. What we're also doing to reduce water is we're putting in place, so if there's any need for anything to do with our planting, we have gone to zero-scape. So we are not going back in and putting anything extra in that requires water. So we are moving it to zero-scape so that there gives you kind of the process that they're going through. So I'm going to ask John Strybos to come up and talk about a water reduction project that we already had in progress. John?
We've been in discussion with the City of Corpus Christi and have approval from them. We have 100% construction documents for a water line, effluent water line that connects to the water line, effluent water line over by Billette Park. We'll be advertising that project soon and then awarding that project through the board probably later this spring. It's going to be the water line will provide effluent water to the water feature that we can see outside. So it'll have water in it, and that water will then be used for landscape irrigation as well as for chilled water. And so our water use will be significantly reduced here at this campus through that use. Are there any questions right now about the status of that project?
Thank you, John. So other proposed options for water reduction, adjusted thermostats so that reduce the amount of chilled water usage for HVAC system. When replacing equipment, purchase water-efficient models. Modified operational schedules. Place some limitations or restrictions on events on campus. Like I said, these are all just, we decided we needed to put everything out there right now at this point. So these are just a lot of options we're putting out. Additional water resources that we're exploring. Capture and reuse air handler unit. Utilize water tankers to replenish chilled water for the HVAC. We have an aquatic center and other critical needs. Additional opportunities for reclaimed water. One of those opportunities is on Windward. I know that Dean Davis Merrill is working on for the fire program to capture and reclaim the water they use in that program so that we can reuse that excess water. So that is in the works right now also. We're exploring if we could drill a water well on Windward. And the purpose would be also to put in a filtration system so that we could utilize the water that's semi-treated, not potable, but semi-treated, so we can run it through our equipment for chilled water and possible instructional program needs. Of course, Fire Academy. And where appropriate, the untreated effluent water could be used for other instructional programs and used for irrigation and grounds. I'm going to ask Ms. Landron to come up and talk about property valuations. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm sorry, questions?
Go ahead. Ladies first.
So I'm just curious on estimated costs and that we spent for supporting the water reduction efforts and about future costs. Because I'm just kind of curious because I don't think we have this budgeted. And where's the funding sources coming from to help support this?
Yes, ma'am. And so I'll speak specifically to probably well, there's the ongoing efforts and smaller projects that are built into our operational and maintenance programs. Those are the smaller fixes here and there. Those are built into the budgets. But the one that's out there that is that we're working toward bringing forth, Mr. Strivers, you could help me on this cost estimate, and is the effluent project that'll offset costs forever once it gets in place. My understanding is it's approximately a $1.5 million setup fee, if you will.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that and the timing of that?
So the plans are ready, working with purchasing to get the project advertised, and we'll award it, start construction. The engineer's estimate is 90 days for construction. And so it's bring the pipeline actually to the water feature, and then we have to change all our sprinkler heads, put in filtration system, and connect it to the chilled water system. So there's some other parts that go with it.
Sure.
And we're going to reline the pond itself with a new liner so that we won't have leakage from that, as well as it'll reduce maintenance costs on the pond itself. And so we're looking in the range of $1.5 million.
And then to answer the rest of the question, Regent Turner, the source of that, of those funds are out of the plant fund, if I'm not mistaken. Tammy, did we have that pegged for out of the plant? I know we had it designated.
It's on our list for that, yes, sir.
Yep. So it would be coming out of
I'm sorry.
It's on our list for that, yes.
for the plant fund.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
out of the plant fund is where it'll be funded from. So it's not operational dollars. Again, it's a project that's been coming. We've been working on this for a long time,
Yes.
and this is really the second iteration. Regents, over 12 years ago, we attempted to get a project going out at the Windward campus, and so we've been, very anxiously awaiting these opportunities. Unfortunately, that program did not come to fruition. That being said, this one is right there, and that's the cost that I'm talking about is stubbing it, running the pipe down from the source right here on Yorktown and crossing the road, I guess,
Yes,
boring underneath the road,
Yes,
obviously, and coming to our retention pond. Those are the details so far. We're excited about those opportunities, and I think, well, I'll save more comments later. I just want to answer the question.
And then we added to the project the filtration system so that we can use it for chilled water, because you have to filter it to a certain point or it will damage your equipment.
Diversifying the uses of the water that we derive from there is going to be our opportunity.
Yeah, because chilled water is one of our major consumers of water, our HVAC systems.
Richard?
Couple of questions. Is the city of Corpus Christi contributing to the effluent line here for the Oso Creek campus, since they might take advantage of it for the police facility and the 2 police facilities?
That is part of the agreement that we're working with on them.
Okay.
On the cost sharing. So yes, we're working with the city to get a definitive answer on that.
All right, with respect to the water well at the Windward campus, my knowledge of the groundwater in this area is that it's very poor. And possibly as an alternative to explore with the city and Foresight Golf to tap into the effluent line that runs from the Greenwood plant to the Lozano Golf Center?
Yes, sir. We're in discussions now with the city on that, beginning that study. There was a concern that there may not be enough capacity, but we think there is enough capacity.
I believe there is.
Yes, sir. We're beginning that process now also.
There's some old designs and paperwork regarding that. That's the one that's the project that I was referring to, Regent Kroll, that we talked about over 10 years ago. So I think there's some back documents and so forth that we can refer
Yes,
to the city to as well.
Yes, we initiated that a few weeks ago. John and I had talked about it, so I asked him to, in his capacity, helping us with a lot of these projects, to move forward with that initiation. Again, these are just things to explore, and if the water well doesn't work out for Windward, that's not the best option, but we just wanted to put everything out there right now that we could possibly look into as an additional resource.
Answer your question? Other questions from Regents? Yes, Dr. Babley and then Mr. Loeb.
I compliment the leadership here. You seem to be more proactive than our illustrious city leadership. So I really applaud you for that, and I urge you to stay ahead and keep offering solutions, coming up on your own and researching how other areas of our state are handling this and community colleges are handling this. And I'd like you to stay ahead of the game. Thank you for doing that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. When I met with the emergency operations people with the city, of course, some of their questions were, how can we help? And so one question I did ask was, help us identify if there are already additional resources with monies out there available to help us with these projects. So that was one ask I did make when we were at the meeting. If they knew of anything, please make us aware of it. And I mean, we're researching also, but that was one ask that we put out there, is to help us identify some resources to help pay for these projects.
I might also add that I had an occasion to meet and discuss issues with our Congressman, Representative Vicente Gonzalez, last week. He is waiting for some sort of a solution and a proposal to be taken to his office in Washington, because they have funds, they have resources. They're just standing by for our leadership to present some proposals, and I urge us to really be proactive and act on these matters. David.
Regent Loeb?
So, how much water is our chilled water system using a year at all 3 campuses?
A little over 39 million.
Okay.
That was for 2025. That was the number
for 2025.
A little over 39 million.
So
Yeah.
that's about at today's rates about $200,000 a year in water.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. Approximately, yes.
So, I mean, I think one thing I would point out on the reuse is the rate for reuse for reclaimed water is a quarter of what the rate for treated water is. And the general expectation is by the end of this, the city's water rates are going to be up 50% or more. So $1 million sounds like a lot of money, but in the context of a 50% rate increase on $200,000 and being able to actually lower our bill to pay for it, we can actually end up making money off this. It'd be great if we can get a grant to pay for it, but I just wanted to point that out. And then that water will be there for somebody else to buy it. So I would assume overall the chilled water systems are the bulk of our use.
Yes, sir. They're the
Yes.
primary user.
Primary.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I think if we can get windward and here on reclaimed water. I think we've done our part. I'd really encourage you all to move forward. I would point out, if you want us to have a special meeting to approve something, that's fine. I can show up, but I'd also point out the governor's waived a lot of that stuff under emergency orders. So, my feeling is we have a responsibility as an institution to lead on this. We have the capability to make changes that will free up water for other users who maybe are not capable of making the changes we are. And so we need to do the responsible thing and go forward. I really like the idea on the aquatic center. I know the city's figuring out what to do on its pools. Theirs are outdoors. We have one of the few indoor pools that's not as subject to evaporation as outdoor pools are. So I would encourage y'all to make that available for them for parks and rec uses, because they still want to teach kids to swim and stuff like that. And so I think if we can find a way to keep that pool operating and be able to offer it to the city and the community to be able to use when, outdoor pool use is heavily restricted or banned, I think that's a great thing for us to contribute as well. I just want to thank you all. It's been really nice being able to tell people that we have a plan that we're moving forward. I heard really great things from the city staff about our meeting with them and how well prepared we were. And I hope others look at what you all have been doing as an example and follow your lead and our lead. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a question or comment, Mr.
No.
Garza? Okay.
Yeah, I do. Real quickly, kudos to staff and looking forward and looking at challenges that we're going to have with this in this particular situation we're in related to water shortages. We'll caution you just to make sure that you're talking constantly related to things that we do or spend on affluent use, because again, in the past, people have been hesitant to convert over to using the use of affluent, but in this particular time, it's going to become competitive. Projects and use of affluent is going to be competitive. So first come, first serve, so to speak. Make sure whatever that we get promised, that we have something in writing or some sort of contract or some sort of reserve amount, so that we can invest in knowing full well that we're going to be getting some benefit. And it's also going to keep us out in front and helping the community try to quit reusing water versus using the precious resource that we've been so I won't say used to having at our fingertips. Secondly, in terms of, and I'm all for Zeroscape. I served on the Water Conservation Board when I was on the City Council, and again, the other thing is that when we build facilities or we've done improvements to facilities, we've had to spend money on landscaping and all the things that we did in order to try to make our campuses beautiful. And now when we convert to Zeroscape, we have to get some sort of a commitment saying that those dollars are going to be at least count for us in terms of meeting the obligations that we have to meet in terms of landscaping. That we're not later, if the situation changes a few years from now, that we're not later penalized and having to go back and rework some of the stuff that we did in order to be more cost efficient and water effective. So again, those are the two things that I've got to comment. But thank you so much for the work we're doing at this time. Thanks.
I do have some questions on a couple of the slides. The one that says proposed options for water reduction. When you talk about modified operational schedules, I think that's something that we need to understand and the public needs to understand as you're developing that as a potential option, and how that might impact instruction versus optional or recreational use. So I think that's, obviously the priority would be instruction, but I just think we need to understand what that means if that proposed option comes about.
Yes, Madam Chair, we will not move without informing the board and the whole world what we're even suggesting, because we would want feedback both from the Board of Regents and certainly our staff and students. Anytime we move that amount of cheese, we're gonna talk first.
And what that means and what the gains and losses would be and why you're proposing it, yeah. The other, on the next slide, we talk about additional water resources to explore. Some of those have capital expenditures, which might then give us operational savings. To Mr. Loeb's point and to Dr. Turner's point, I think it's important that we understand what the capital investment is in some of these options versus the ongoing operational, whether it's temporary or long-term operational costs or savings, and specifically related to the capture and reuse air handling unit. What do those expenditures look like for us to be able to capture? I mean, there's some equipment that's involved in that. There's equipment in drilling wells. There's equipment in some of that. Again, short-term capital expense for long-term operational gain, hopefully. The one that I'm really interested in is utilizing water tankers for chiller or other use. And when we get into that, I realize that's a short-term operational cost, but how are we costing that out, and are those kinds of options going to come back to us so we can understand the budget implications?
Anything to do with water is going to come back. And again, I want everyone out there to know that I've been talking to the Board of Regents and saying this is the beginning of a broad conversation and an ongoing conversation, because droughts, unfortunately, will recur, as bad as the one is that we're in currently, just like storms and everything else. I don't want to jinx us. But that being said, we must be prepared. We must think in this new way going forth, and that's just going to be the way we should do business forever. And as such, those conversations will come back for full discussion and vetting with the Board of Regents.
Well, I too want to applaud you for the breadth of all the things that you're considering. And I think this is an important conversation for us to continue to have in public. So, any other questions on this part of the agenda? Oh, one more comment.
I just want to mention that I know type 1 for outdoor power washing, if we're not using type 1 from OSO, we can use that for power washing the bird dew up. So if we're not doing that, I'd suggest doing that. The other thing is might keep an open mind on some of the outlying communities that are our partners will have a more dire issue because they get water directly from the lakes that don't appear that they will be operating. And I don't know what the status on those communities drilling wells are, but I think we should keep in mind that if we have classroom space that we're able to operate off of reclaimed water, we might be offering some of our partners space where, there's not water where they are. So if they need to consolidate with us for part of this while they get water stood up, I think we should be prepared to offer that and think about how we could do that with some of our partners. And that's it.
I do have some additional information when we get to the last slide on next steps. I think we'll also fill in some of the gaps with some questions that you had too.
Okay. All right. Next couple of slides on.
Okay, Ms. Landrum?
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. So as we're looking for ways to reduce our water usage, we're also considering any potential impact on our property tax levy, especially since that accounts for about 60% of our operating revenue. So taxable property is appraised as of January 1st, according to Texas Property Tax Code Section 23.01. So if anything happens to a property after January 1st, it shouldn't affect the evaluations for that year. It's more of a trailing effect to where it would be considered in the next year. So it would affect that fiscal year 2028 property tax levy. So in determining the market value of property, the chief appraiser shall consider the cost, income, and market data comparison method, and they'll pick the one that fits best. Sometimes they have to use a combination of one or more of those methods because it's hard to obtain all the data for one single method. Once those valuations are certified and all of the taxing units have adopted their tax rates, then the tax bills are distributed October 1st or as soon as practical per tax code section 31.01A. Are there any questions on this slide before I move on? Okay, So on this slide, we have provided just some hypothetical scenarios. So with our current tax rate, the total taxable revenue from our top 6 contributors is about $10.7 million. If we saw a 10% reduction in that tax levy from those top 6 contributors, it would amount to a little over $1 million. For our fiscal year 2026, our total tax levy, which includes our operating and our debt service, is $101.9 million. If we saw a 10% reduction, then that would equal out to about $10.1 million. So as illustrated in this hypothetical scenarios, even a modest reduction in our collections can result in a meaningful revenue impact, emphasizing the importance of monitoring these risks as we plan for next year's budget. All right. Any questions? Ms. McDonald will continue.
Any questions on that portion for Ms. Landrum? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Landrum. So our next steps. We're going to continue to further study additional water resources. And again, we're looking at every option. Everything's on the table right now. Part of what you were talking about, Chair Scott, of making sure we're looking at options and planning and what does it mean if we did have operational schedule changes. We have convened the incident management team. We'll meet on April the 20th, and we will have discussions and develop operational financial planning based on impact models. So it would be those scenarios of, what if we did have to reduce water by this amount? Where can we? So it's like everything's on the table. If we did have to adjust schedules, where does it make sense? What areas, so that it does not affect instruction? So our incident management team is a team that we bring together to put together these plans and to be prepared. So all of those things that we were discussing, we will be discussing and breaking out into, I guess you could say, sub-teams within that group and working on all of these planning and preparedness options.
Thank you all. Dr. Escamilla, thank you and your team for putting together this analysis for us. It's a great first step, and for us to be having these conversations, it's going to happen sooner than later. So I think we need to be moving quickly and implementing as they say, the stuff that's easy pickings, that's low-hanging fruit, and then the stuff that takes a little bit longer planning. But I think this is going to be on top of us sooner rather than later. Any other comments or questions? Thank you.
Thank you.